Context, coherence, and framing. How our minds fill in the blanks. Imagine the following scene. Susanne is reading in the living room while Andrew is preparing dinner in the kitchen. Talking from one room to the other, the two exchange a few words about what Susanne is reading. Suddenly, Andrew calls out, "It burned! I'll close the door! Sorry!" But what unfolds in Susanne's mind is a much longer story, a mental movie, so to say. It goes something like this. Andrew wants to bring to a boil some water and milk for the polenta that he's cooking. While he's preparing the salad, he forgets all about the pot on the stove. The water and milk boil over, spilling onto the hot hob, where it now burns and smells of scorched milk. As Andrew knows that Susanne cannot stand it when there's a burnt smell in the flat, he closes the door to the kitchen. This cuts off their conversation, which is why he apologizes. All of this is implied by Andrew in his short exclamation. And that's a good thing, because if we always had to convey word for word what we mean, then what we say aloud wouldn't leave us much time to cook or think. When it comes to communication, we therefore limit ourselves to what we believe our audience cannot come up with on their own. Andrew only says, "It burned. I'll close the door. Sorry." He believes that Susanne can fill in the rest of the blanks herself, and that's precisely what she does. Picture a bridge for a moment. When we write or speak, we place the equivalent of bridge piers in a few places, and it's up to the reader or the listener to connect the different piers with arches. In linguistics, this act of connecting the bridge piers is known as coherence. It comes from the Latin 𝘗𝘰𝘰𝘬𝘪𝘯𝘦, which means to be joined together. In order to understand what someone is communicating to us, we create coherence by filling in the spaces between the bridge piers, between the explicitly expressed words, with concepts from our mind. What we then evoke, what we retrieve from our minds to connect the piers, can be controlled. Let's say I'm telling a story and initially frame it with the words cooking and corn. When I then mention the word popped, the audience will likely associate it with a delicious buttery smell. Now imagine that I'm instead talking about a couple and a question. Popped in that context will then be understood to mean a marriage proposal. This act of creating a specific frame of understanding is known as framing. Framing enables us to influence how our audience fills in the spaces between the bridge piers that we provide them with. Framing helps to determine the story that our audience constructs in their mental movie as they work to comprehend what we are communicating to them. Once Andrew and Susanne had decided that they would eat polenta for dinner, they created the frame that allowed Susanne to imagine for herself what was burning when Andrew shouted out. In this sense, comprehension can be understood to mean guided creative construction. In our minds, we construct a mental movie about what we just heard or read. This occurs in the frame or context of what we already know about the world. "It burned. I'll close the door. Sorry." This is how we can save both words and time. However, this also means that each and every one of us constructs our own individual meaning as we fill in the blanks, which explains why the intended message is never precisely identical to the message understood.